Running a half or a full marathon is a huge accomplishment, but I think we sometimes forget how big of an accomplishment the actual training part is. That's all of those weeks of hard work. The problem is if you're not really focused on your training, you can make mistakes. And so I want to go over the 5 most common mistakes that I've seen so that you can make sure that you avoid them, get to the starting line healthy and ready to reach your potential. Hey guys, I'm Jane. I've been a runner for over 20 years. I am an RRCA certified running coach. And because I've been running for such a long time, I've definitely made plenty of mistakes. All of the ones that I'm going to be talking about in this video. And as a coach, these are the things that I notice the most that runners are doing that can get in the way of them training their best and reaching the goals that they want to on race day. So let's get into these mistakes so you can make sure that they aren't happening to you. So the first one is that runners are not running enough of their miles at an easy pace. So I have an entire video devoted to this. So I'll make sure that I link that in case you want to see all the ins and outs of easy running and why it's so important. But essentially, you should be running at least 75 to 80% of your miles at an easy pace. So if you're saying, well, what is an easy pace? The biggest way for me to tell you to make sure that you're running an easy pace is if it's a conversational pace. If you can have a conversation with someone easily, that's a very good gauge that you're running at an easy pace. And if you're saying to yourself, well, I usually run by myself, you can literally try talking out loud to yourself when no one's around. You can try singing and just really noticing your breath, okay? If you can hear your breath, if you're breathing hard, that's not an easy pace. And the reason for this is because your body cannot handle all of that mileage when you are running too many miles at a hard pace or even a medium pace. And in the end, halves and full marathons, they're aerobic running. And so there's no reason to be doing a ton of speed work anyway. So just make sure that you're not running too hard. Number 2 is not running enough miles per week. So this is something that I had a huge problem with the marathons that I was running in my 20s. And if you guys want to find out how I went from being a 5-hour marathoner to qualifying for Boston over several years of time, I'll link that video. But one of the things that I was doing wrong, the biggest mistake I was making, was not running enough mileage. So I thought that I could get away with 3 runs per week. And I don't know, it's probably running like 20 to 25 miles per week, and it just wasn't enough. It was not enough for me to be prepared for those last 6 to 8 miles of a marathon. And even if I was running a half marathon, it wouldn't have served me well to get the time that I was capable of. So you want to make sure that you're running enough miles per week. So you don't need to be doing this crazy amount of mileage that you hear elite runners doing, or maybe really experienced advanced runners. I talk about in that video how I ended up running 60 miles per week in some of my longest weeks. That's not something that you need to be doing. If you're someone who's running a half marathon, trying to focus on getting around that 35 mile per week mark is a good idea, 30 to 35. And if you're running a full marathon, trying to get to that 40 to 45 miles per week mark is a good place to start. Now, I know if you guys look at Hal Higdon's plans, he has his novice plans running, I think the top week is about 35 miles per week. That's definitely doable. So if that's something that you're doing and your focus is to finish the marathon, then that's totally fine. But if you are getting, down in the 20s, that's not enough. And you need to make sure that you are following your plan so that you get to those highest mileage weeks as prescribed so that you can be ready for race day. Number 3 is skipping too many scheduled runs. Now, there's always a time and a place for not doing a run. If your body is hurt, if you are sick, 100% you need to listen to your body, and that's the best thing you can do. You should not be going out and running if you're hurt or you're sick. However, if you are maybe feeling a little tired or you're feeling a little bit under the weather, they always say, if it's neck and above, if you have a little bit of a cold or something like that, then you might be good to run. And only you can decide that in the end. But if you're putting off too many runs like that, you're not going to be able to get in all of the mileage that you need to be ready. And at that point, if you're really not wanting to do it, maybe you need to reassess, your training at that point in time. The other side of that is if you're going on a vacation and you're like, oh, well, I went on vacation for a week and I couldn't get these runs in. In my opinion, as a running coach, that's not really an excuse. Do they have sidewalks? Do they have a track? Do they have a rec center with a treadmill? Usually if you plan ahead, you can make sure you get those miles that you need, which isn't to say you can, tweak a week if you need to because you have a vacation, as long as all of your other weeks are going to be exactly as they should. In the end, if you look back at your training and you realize I skipped a lot of runs, that is not going to get you ready for race days. Number 4 is not doing any strength training or mobility work or cross training. It doesn't mean you need to be doing all of these, and it doesn't mean that you need to be doing these extensively either. But if you're strictly only running, that's the only type of exercise that you're doing, you're not going to be able to reach your potential most likely, and it's very likely that you'll get hurt, especially as you are building up that mileage. Honestly, the more mileage you're doing, the higher likelihood you have of something happening if you're not doing these things. This is a reason I personally like going to Orange Theory, even if it's just once a week. I've been trying to get back to going twice a week because they have me do strength work. I do the rower. I keep it in that aerobic zone for cross training. And it's just something that really helps me make sure that I'm getting in other exercise that's not just running. And to be honest, it makes it more fun. It makes the process more enjoyable and makes it a lot less likely that you're going to burn out too. It doesn't have to even be weights. So a video that I want to be doing coming up, so make sure you subscribe to this channel so you can see it when it comes out, is my favorite 5 body weight exercises. So even if you have no weights, you can still be doing things like clamshells and push-ups and pull-ups and squats. These are all great things that you can be doing that are going to strengthen your body and get you ready to do those miles. Number 5, and the last one, and it is so important, is to not be comparing yourself to what everyone else is doing. And in our world of social media, it's very hard not to. I know for me personally, I follow a lot of people on Instagram that are extremely fast runners, and it starts making me question, my abilities. It makes me question if I'm training appropriately. Oh my gosh, I see that she ran, a 12-mile run this weekend and she's doing the same race as me and I only did 10. Was that not enough? You need to make sure that you're focusing on you and the plan that you've chosen to use, because once you've chosen to use that plan and you're far into that training plan, then you need to just keep sticking with it and trust the process, and especially if you have a coach or a coach that you've worked with who's made a plan for you, there's a reason for that. So you need to just cut out the noise, not worry what everyone else is doing. This includes running too fast on your runs so that they look good on Strava. Don't do that. You find that Instagram and Strava, those places are not helpful for you in your training and they're just making you question what's going on, then maybe cut those out for a little while you're doing your training. Because in the end, trusting that your training is going to get you to the starting line healthy, that is really, really important and helps you keep your eye on the prize and keeps you happy in the process. All right, guys, if you think of anything else that I missed that you think is a mistake that either you've made or you've seen people make, let's put it in the comments, because that will only serve to help us all. And if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm always happy to answer them. Thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.